Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're from Group 2 and we're going to present our material about language representation. First of all, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Nurul Rahma as the second speaker, Dede Septina as the first speaker, Nur Hasan as the third speaker, and the fourth speaker is Muhammad Munjir. Without any further ado, Dede Septina, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. So please, next page, please. Okay, so today I will talk about the key brain areas for a language. So a language is processing in the brain involve different areas that work together to help us to speak, understand, read, and write. So there is no single language center. Instead, language depends on a network of a brain areas. So the most important ones are Broca's area. So Broca's area is for speech production. It's located in the frontal lobe, usually in the left hemisphere. It's help us form sentences and organize the grammar correctly. If damaged, it causes Broca's aphasia, where a person has a trouble speaking fluently. And people with this condition understand language well, but struggle to form a full sentences. And the second one is there is Wernicke's area. It's for a language comprehension. So Wernicke's area is in the temporal lobe near in the hearing area. It helps us to understand language we were when we were here or read it. If damaged, it causes a Wernicke aphasia, where a person can speak fluently, but their words do not make sense. They also have a trouble understanding others. And the third one, we have other importance area. It's the first one is motor cortex. It's control muscle in mouth, lips, and vocal cords for speech. And the second one is we have auditory cortex, process sound and help us to recognize different speech sound. And the third one is subcortical areas. It's connect different language areas and help us to coordinate speech and comprehension. So these networks or these areas work together to help us to use a language. This means language is not controlled by just one part of the brain, but by a network of connected areas. And the second one, next page, please. And the second one is we talk about hemispheric specialization or a brain hemisphere roles in the language. So the brain is divided into two halves, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. One important concept in the brain sciences is lateralization, which means that certain function like language are more dominant in the one hemisphere. So the first one is the left hemisphere, is the main language center. In about 95% of right-handed people, right-handed people language is mainly processed in the left hemisphere. So the left hemisphere controls grammar, sentence structure, and speech production. And the third one is damage to the side can cause a serious language problem, such as Broca's aphasia or Wernicke's aphasia. And the second one is a language in the left-handed people. So for left-handed people, language is not always in the left hemisphere. Some left-handed people still have left hemisphere dominance, but others have a more balanced language system between both hemispheres. So this shows that the brain is flexible and can adapt to a different condition. A role of the Right hemisphere is not the main language center, but it's help in understanding tone, emotion, and intonation in the speech, and processing a metaphor, idioms, and sarcasm, or we can say a non-literal language, and understanding humor and indirect meanings in the in conversation. So these studies show that people with a right hemisphere damage have trouble understanding jokes, sarcasm, and emotional tone in speech. So this means that even though the left hemisphere is the main area for language, the right hemisphere also plays an important role in communication. Okay, next pages, please. Next page, please. Okay, so the third one we're gonna talk about language disorder or aphasia. So the aphasia is a condition where a person has a trouble speaking or understanding language because of the brain damage. There are different types of aphasia depending on which part of the brain is affected. The first one is a Broca's aphasia or a trouble speaking. It happens when Broca's area is damaged in the frontal lobe, or the main the symptom is speech is slow and difficult. Second one is sentences are short and grammatically incorrect. And the third one is understanding language is mostly normal. So, example, instead of saying I want to eat fried rice, they may say like want rice eat. So they talk so slow and difficult, and it makes will presentate to the others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dede. So I'm going to continue Dede's explanation about the language disorders. So Dede's explain about Broca's aphasia. Now it's Wernicke's turn. So, on the other hand, Wernicke's aphasia results from the damage to Wernicke's area and leads to fluent but meaningless speech. People with this condition may produce grammatically correct sentences filled with words that make no sense together, such as the sky is talking to the banana. It doesn't make any sense. Additionally, they struggle to comprehend spoken language, making conversation difficult. Other disorders, such as semantic dementia, affect a person's ability to understand and recall word meanings. This progressive condition leads to difficulties in naming objects and using specific words correctly, gradually eroding language skills over time. So these disorders demonstrate how different aspects of language speaking, understanding, and meaning are controlled by distinct brain areas. So next is about multiple language representation, bilingual brain. For bilingual individuals, both languages are stored and processed in overlapping brain areas rather than being confined to separate regions. Studies using a brain imaging technique such as fMRI show that multiple languages activate similar neural networks, especially in fluent bilinguals. However, second languages are sometimes processed with slight variation depending on when and how they were learned. For instance, if a second language is acquired in an early at an early age, it is often represented similarly to the first language. In contrast, if learned later in life, it may involve additional brain regions, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with effortful learning and control. Another factor that influences language representation is proficiency. Research indicates that as a bilingual person becomes more fluent in their second language, the brain gradually integrates it more closely with the first language. It reducing the need for extra cognitive effort. Interestingly, in some cases of brain damage aphasia, bilingual individuals may lose one language while retaining the other, or experience unpredictable patterns of recovery. This suggests that although languages share neural resources, there can still be unique aspects of representation and retrieval that vary based on individual learning history and language use. Next, we're going to talk about cognitive aspects of language processing. Language processing is not only about understanding and producing words, but also involves working memory and executive functions. Working memory is like a mental stretch pad that temporarily stores and manipulates information, helping us keep track of long sentences and complex ideas. Studies show that individuals with greater working memory capacity perform better in understanding sentences with complicated structures, such as a passive voice or embedded clauses. For example, a sentence like "the book that the boy borrowed from the library was new" requires the brain to hold multiple pieces of information and make connection between them, a process dependent on working memory. Another crucial cognitive function in language is executive control, which involves attention management, task switching, and inhibitory control. This is especially important in bilingual speakers as they constantly manage two language systems, preventing interference from one language while speaking in the other. Research has found that bilingual individuals tend to perform better on task switching and cognitive control tasks compared to monolinguals. This suggests that the brain's ability to juggle multiple languages strengthens broader cognitive abilities, which may even contribute to delaying cognitive decline in aging. Next, we're going to talk by Nurhasana.
Okay, thank you. So I will talk about part of the brain are known to be involved in language. So for the first, we have cerebrum, or the neocortex, the thinking part of the brain. So this is the largest part of the brain, like responsible for thinking, moving, feeling, and language. So it has different sections, including the temporal lobe and frontal lobe, which are important for language. And the second, we have temporal lobe. So temporal lobe is the language understanding center. Why? Because this part of the brain is located near your ears. It helps us process sounds and understand words when someone talks to us. Like this. Inside the temporal lobe, there is a special area called witness area, which help us make sense of words. Okay, I will give you an example for this. Imagine you are listening to a song in a language you understand, like Indonesian language. The temporal lobe helps you recognize the words and their meaning. But if you hear a song in a language you don't know, your next area may not process it properly, so it just sounds like random sounds. And the third is frontal lobe. So frontal lobe is the speaking and sentence making center. Why? Because this part of the brain is at the front behind your forehead. So it helps you think about what you want to say and from correct sentence. It includes broadcast area, which help us put words together and speak them out loud. So I will give example for frontal lobe. So when you answer a question in a class, your frontal lobe helps you organize
It's like you talk into a proper sentence before saying it out loud. Okay. Next is subcortical area. So the brain's communication system. So these are deeper parts of the brain that help connect different language areas. They allow us to quickly understand and respond in conversation. Okay, I will give you example for this again. So when someone asks, "How are you?" you don't have to think too hard before answering. "I'm fine, thanks." This is because the subcortical areas help your brain process the question and about brain's left right so for the left hemisphere, control language for most right-handed people. Helps with grammar, word order, and understanding exact meanings. And for the right hemisphere, helps with emotions of voice, jokes, and figurative language like metaphors, sarcasm. And somewhat handed, like people may use both hemispheres for language. I will give example for this one. So if someone say it's raining cats and dogs, the left hemisphere knows the word, but the right hemisphere help you understand it. Just an expression meaning like it's raining heavily. Next, so the next we have connection between brains areas. So what happens if these brain areas are damaged? So for the first, we have broadcast aphasia. So broadcast aphasia is damage to broadcast area. So people understand the language but have trouble to speaking. Their speech is slow and they may leave out small words like is or the. I will give you example for this. Like instead of saying I want to drink water, but they may say want drink water. Next we have Wernicke's aphasia. Wernicke's aphasia is damage to Wernicke's area. So people can speak, but their words don't make sense. Like they also have trouble understanding what others are saying. Like what they're saying. They can speak, but they have trouble for understanding that. I will give you example for this one again. So if you ask, "What's your favorite food?" they might reply with random words like "The sky is happy with the moon." That was really hard to understanding. And the next or the last is other types of language problem. We have conduction aphasia. People understanding and speak well but have troubles repeating words. And the next is semantic dementia. People slowly forget the meanings of words. So the brain is amazing because it allows us to communicate in so many ways. Like different parts work together to help us speak, listen, read, and write. So if any area is damaged, it can change how a person uses a language. So that's all for me. I will give the next presentation with Munzir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentations, my friend. And the last is about psycholinguistic studies of bilinguals. It's like phonological, lexical, and syntax. And the first one is psycholinguistic studies of bilinguals. Bilingualism affects different levels of language processing, including phonological, lexical, and syntactic representation. Studies have explored how bilinguals store and retrieve sounds, words, and sentence structures, revealing both shared and distinct cognitive mechanisms. These studies help understand how bilingual manage two language system and how these systems interact during speech comprehension and productions. And the second is phonological representations. Phonology in bilingual is complex. Why? Because different languages have unique sound system, and some studies suggest that bilinguals may have shared phonemic representation across language, especially when similar sounds exist in both. For example, Rulofs found that bilinguals respond faster to words with shared phonological feature across language, indicating that phonemes from both languages may be stored in an overlapping system. However, differences in pronunciation and phonetic cause can lead to accent interference, where bilinguals may apply the phonetic rules of one language when speaking another. And the third is lexical representations. In lexical pre- processing in bilinguals involves managing two vocabularies, which can lead to both advantage and challenge. One key question in psycholinguistic research is whether bilinguals store words in a shared or separate mental lexicon. Some models propose a shared lexicon where words from both languages are connected at a conceptual level, while others suggest a language-specific lexicon with separate word and tries for each language. And also studying using the stroke test and picture word inference paradigms have shown that bilinguals active both language simultaneously, even when only one is in use. This suggests that lexical access is non-selective, meaning that bilingual must constantly manage cross-language interference. One consequence of bilingual lexical interaction is the tip of the tongue phenomenon, where bilingual experience temporary difficulty in retrieving words more frequently than monolinguals. This occurs because bilinguals use each language less frequently than monolinguals, weakening the connection between words and their meanings. On the other hand, bilinguals often show greater cognitive flexibility in word retrieval. Bilinguals are and also often show greater cognitive flexibility in word retrieval, and as they can switch between language to find alternative ways to express idea. And the last is syntactic representations. And this syntax is reversed to the rules that govern sentence structure. And bilingual must learn and apply different syntactic patterns for each language. Psycholinguistic studies have investigated whether bilinguals maintain separate or share syntactic structure. And research on syntactic framing, where exposure to a sentence structure influence future sentence productions, suggests that bilingual share syntactic representation across language. And for example is, studies have found that hearing a sentence in one language can influence how bilingual construct a sentence in their other language, even when the grammatical structure differs slightly. And so, bilinguals sometimes experience syntactic transfer, where the rules of the one language influence sentence formations in the other. And this can result in grammatical errors such as incorrect word order or missing functions words, especially in second language learners. The degree of syntactic overlap between languages also plays a role. Language with similar structure, just like Spanish and English, so show more across linguistic influence than those with very different syntax, just like Chinese and English. Okay, I think that's only that from me. Thank you for your opportunity.
Okay, thank you guys for your great explanation. Maybe that's all for this presentation. If there are any mistaken, we're sorry for that. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.